3 checks passed the credit report. Nobody checked if the company was real. That same gap just repeated at scale. 3 brand new AI verifiers shipped in the same month, and each one scores the reasoning, proves the reasoning, or grades the reasoning by eye, without confirming that the thing being reasoned about exists. Where in your process would that question get asked?
Let's get into it.
In 1 week in 2026, 3 separate teams each built a way to check an AI's reasoning, and all 3 missed the same question. This is the Hamberger report. I'm Andreas Hamberger, Governance and Security Architect, Wellington. A financial analyst is reading an AI-generated credit report. It says the borrower's employer has traded for years and the declared income sits inside the normal range. 3 checks already passed it. A reward model scored the reasoning highly. A formal checker confirmed the arithmetic was consistent. A human reviewer signed it off. Then someone in the room asks one question. Has anyone actually checked that the company exists? The honest answer is no. None of the 3 checks was built to catch an existence claim, and it slipped through all of them. That is not one firm's bad luck. In the same week of 2026, the field published 3 different ways to verify an AI's reasoning, each external to the model, each impressive, and each returning a different kind of answer. Reading them side by side is the fastest way to see why has this been verified is not yet a well-formed question. Start with the one that returns a number. On the 6th of July, a paper called LLM-as-a-Verifier proposed something subtle. Instead of a model shouting a grade out of 5, it computes the average of every score that model would ever give and calls that number a verdict. That number measures the model's own confidence, not whether the world matches it. The results are still strong. The framework reports 86.5% on terminal bench and similarly high marks on 3 further benchmarks. State-of-the-art at submission on most of them. It is training free and drops straight into an existing pipeline. But here is the structural limit. A score of 0.87 measures how confidently this model would approve of this answer. It does not measure whether the answer's claim matches the world. The verifier and the generator draw from the same distribution, so a plausible sounding but false answer can score just as highly as a true one. A high score is evidence about the model's confidence, not about reality. 3 days earlier, Mistral released a model called Leanstral, built to work inside a theorem-proving language called Lean. Its output is not a score, it is a proof, and a type checker either accepts the derivation or it rejects it. There is no middle value. That accept or reject boundary is also where the method's limit lives. A type checker only rules on what can be formally expressed in the first place. Leanstral proved formal correctness across most of a well-known university mathematics competition set, and tested against dozens of open-source repositories. It uncovered several bugs it could formally prove were real. That is the promise of a formal method, not a higher score, but provable correctness inside a bounded domain. On a harder benchmark, the same release scores far lower, and that gap is not a weakness, it is the edge of the formal domain. What Leanstral cannot formalize, it cannot verify at all, and most of the claims that matter in a credit report are exactly that kind. The sentence "this company has traded for 10 years" is a plain claim about the world. It is not something you can express inside a formal proof system without a separate step that already presumes an outside record exists. The 3rd study is older, but it drew fresh attention the same week. Across more than 100 participants, it tested how well people spot a wrong step in an AI's reasoning under 4 different ways of showing them the same argument. The plain text condition caught the fewest wrong steps, laying the same reasoning out as connected, color-coded nodes instead of a wall of text raised wrong step detection sharply, and readers were faster too. The finding is sobering, not triumphant. Even the gold standard of human oversight swings by a wide margin on the very same people, depending only on how the reasoning is shown to them. Set the 3 side by side now, a number in an interval. A proof a type checker accepts or rejects. A human judgment mediated by an interface. All 3 sit outside the model they check. All 3 beat their baselines, and none of them falls into a single verified or not signal, because none was built to answer the one question a credit report reviewer actually needs answered. Vera is opening a new arc on exactly that question. What should a verifier even return? If you want the next installment the moment it publishes, subscribe now. Episode 27 lands next Saturday. None of those three outputs is what Vera returns. Vera, the verified existence and reason architecture, wraps a language model in three layers built on a formal separation between existence and predication. And its output is neither a score, a proof, nor a human opinion. Set a fourth row next to the other three. Not a probability, not a certificate, not a judgment, but a verdict. The first layer, the Crumpet's load analyzer, classifies every claim in the text as an existence claim that needs grounding, or an inference that follows from what has already been established. The second, the E-verification service, checks each existence claim against a structured sourced record that sits entirely outside the model. The third, the D service, acts on the verdict. An entity either exists in the independent record written E, or it does not. There is no 73% exist. When the service finds an independent record, it returns a positive verdict. When it cannot, the claim is flagged unverified. And the D service returns unknown and stops, rather than carrying on from an unconfirmed premise. On first-party benchmarks, the architecture records a 28.9% reduction in hallucination and a 21.1% improvement in truthfulness, numbers that describe categorical existence, checking on its own, not a comparison against the three papers above, which do a different job entirely. Here is a gap worth naming carefully. I could not find a New Zealand instrument that says which verification output, a probability, a proof, a human sign-off, or a categorical verdict counts as adequate assurance for an AI-generated claim in a regulated decision. That gap does not make the dials wrong on their own. New Zealand's regulator already finds most respondents concerned about automated decisions, and the Reserve Bank's draft standard asks boards to set a tolerance, itself a probabilistic frame, not a verdict on one claim. Consider lethal autonomous weapon systems. The class Article 36 of the 1977 Additional Protocol to the Geneva Conventions requires every state to review before fielding, framed by the International Committee of the Red Cross through the doctrine of meaningful human control. A score of 0.87 that a target was correctly identified does not authorize a strike. It reports a model's confidence, not the reality of who stands in the frame. A formal proof covers only what can be formalized. The longer the accountability standard here is closer to a verdict on one existence claim. Is this a lawful target? And United States Department of Defense Directive 3000.09 asks for that assurance to be demonstrable, not merely probable. Three teams working from probability, from formal logic, and from human interface design all reached outside the model for a verifier this month. None of them told you whether the thing at the center of the claim is real. Match the output to the claim, because that is the whole lesson in 3 lines. A score is confidence. A proof needs formalizing. Existence needs a verdict. A score, a proof, and a human judgment all beat their baselines this month, and none of them returns a verdict on existence. If a system runs several of these checks at once, each returning a different kind of output, who decides what the combination is actually worth, and who checks the checkers? Vera's answer is to keep the referent outside the loop entirely. Not a smarter score, not a broader proof, but a categorical record. The model itself never touches. Whichever of these methods your organization adopts, ask the credit report question first. Not how confident was the model. Ask whether anyone checked that the thing it named actually exists.
That is the Hamberger report for today. If this was useful, subscribe and hit the like button. It helps more professionals find the channel. You will find links to everything we covered in the description below. I am Andreas Hamberger, and I will see you tomorrow.
Like and subscribe.